Good evening, welcome to the plantation. I'm your host, Master Gabriel. I trust everyone is doing well. We have surpassed the first quarter of 2025, and I trust that everyone is having a fantastic time, whether that be depressing or non depressing, to say the least. Now, there are a few things that I want to unpack. Firstly, the reason why I've been quiet has been my university work. I'm officially admitted to my final exam of my bachelor's degree at UNISA. So, upon that condition, on the 27th of May, when I pass this last module, I will then be graduating with my bachelor's degree in international relations. It has been a work in progress, a journey of lots of turbulence and lots of obstacles, but nonetheless, God has carried me through. I am here, I am alive, and what a great motherfucking time to be alive. Let's unpack a few things firstly and foremost. What boggles my mind is that how do you feel about the comrades? We do understand that since 2016, according to a Daily Maverick article, they state that state capture has cost South Africa 700 billion rand. Now let's look at some of the numbers. According to the National Treasury, in a report since 2018 and onwards, they have also estimated the cost of state capture close to R1 trillion. Now, nonetheless, from the year 2016 up until, well, let's say 2025 or 2024, our comrades have chowed close to R1 trillion. This is what corruption does to you. How do you feel about that, South Africans? How do you feel about the never ending corruption? Now, this includes corruption not only from the state itself. As you know, there are private sector players that enable state corruption. Without the state beneficiaries and the state machinery at play, the private sector beneficiaries of state corruption will not be able to exist. And there are a few names that have been released in the state capture report as per the Zondo Commission. And we can also argue that some of these entities were asked to pay some monies back to Eskom, to say the least. These are the likes of Bain and Co., McKinsey, as well as ABB, which is involved in some lucrative contracts that were handling state resources. Now, when you look at the voter itself, it's not the lack of understanding. I would probably say it's the lack of thinking differently, because any voter understands that when a political party fails you as a member of society, fails you as a person on the ground, fails you as a community member, surely that is enough indication to state that what are the chances of this party fulfilling its mandate and its objectives, and also driving policy forward so that you can benefit from the latter. Nonetheless, there's not a lot to speak about because all our political parties have very, very bad track records. Yes, the policies of some may be progressive, the policies of others may be non progressive, but how effective are these policies and how effective can it be implemented on the ground? I feel that is the more important part. Now, let's just have a look at some of the information that I found during my research. Now, there is something in particular. I call it a decade in review. This is according to the World Bank, the OECD data files. Now, on that particular site, you can find the economic growth of South Africa since 1948, if I'm not mistaken, up until 2023 or 2024. It is a huge, stark, dark picture of how our economy grew prior to apartheid and also how our economy grew post-apartheid. Now, I did a particular case study and also I wrote an assignment about the South African economy, a decade in review since 2013. Now, let's just have a look at some of the numbers. Now, a decade in review. In the year 2013, our economy grew at 2.5%. Then 1.4 in 2014, 2015 1.3%, 2016 0.7%, 2017 1.2%, 2018 1.6%, and then 2019 a staggering 0.3%. Fast forward, we then get hit with lockdown. Our economy contracted at a massive scale that was minus 6.2%. And then, what happened in the year 2021? One of our magnificent years post lockdown 2020, the South African economy grew by 5%. This is also according to Bloomberg statistics as well. In the year 2022, 1.9%. The year 2023, 0.7%. Now we ask ourselves this question as South Africans: what went wrong here? Is it our failure to understand that politicians lie? Politicians will never look for the benefit of the citizens, look towards the benefit of South Africa as a country, or only see to the benefit of themselves as individuals. Because I would say this comes from tokenism, and this also comes from individualism. There is not a collective understanding of how things are happening in the economy, let alone some people have a tunnel view of understanding what really goes on in the economy. Remember, the economy cannot exist without politics. The economy cannot exist without state regulation. The economy cannot exist without public service. Now we can say this as South Africans: yes, the comrades are inefficient. The cadre deployment is unacceptable, and the incompetence from all the people that are being appointed into strategic and specific roles. Many can be said, the same in the private sector. You've got generational wealth coming from bloodlines of corporations through family lineage. And you ask yourself this question: how come is there no inclusivity? How come is there no diversity? For me, it's like what Dr. Ifatunde said: it's the illusion of inclusion. Because the illusion is that you feel that you are part of the economy and you are included in the economy. But the illusion thereof, you are actually segregated in all other aspects of your life. I feel that the most critical part that we need to address is the economy. Yes, what happened to all the people with the PhDs? What happened to all the people with the MBAs? What happened to all the people with the high-level credentials that are so academically profound, and yet they fail to resolve South Africa's most basic socio-economic needs? Now, I'm not a professor, I'm not an economist, I'm just a realist. And what I'm trying to understand is that with all that intellect and all that academic prowess, why are we still failing as a country to resolve the most basic socio-economic needs? Sometimes the solution may not always be a new government. Yes, we can vote in a new government, but what are the chances that the same government that is being voted in, because we now want a different energy at the helm, does exactly the opposite what the ANC has been doing? Yes, there are a few things we need to be thankful for the ANC. The ANC has built roads. There were many townships and villages that never had infrastructure, and to this day you can arguably say there are roads in those places. They have brought electricity to more than 1 million people across South Africa. That is an amicable target. Without the ANC's influence and the input on those type of things, transmission, distribution and supply, we can also understand that they have achieved a woeful objective of powering South Africans. So yes, there are households that never had access to the grid because during apartheid there was a massive segregation. People were shifted via the Group Areas Act of before the 1950s, as well as also the constant spatial distribution and spatial allocation of where economic zones are versus where they were being placed into certain areas away from economic hubs. So automatically infrastructure was less in those underlying areas, and through the ANC's input and its state-run resources, it managed to also bring power to a lot of people that didn't have access to the grid before. So I will definitely say yes. Yes, SANRAL, South African National Roads Agency, SANRAL as well, which is a effectively run state entity. Kudos to them. Airports Company of South Africa, very well managed, running all our major airports in South Africa, doing a brilliant job. So there are a few things that we can say. That's not that bad. But in all fairness, how do you feel about having a new government on board? Do you feel that the new government and the new leadership in charge will address your development concerns? Will it address your educational concerns? Will it also address your conscious concerns? You have to ask yourself that as a South African. Before we engage in any form of debate and before we blame a finger and put a finger on anyone, ask yourself this question: how do you feel about a change? Do you feel that change is forthcoming? Is change going to be progressive or is change going to be regressive? That's what you need to ask yourself. It's all good for any South African to blame the ANC and blame the failures of itself to enact on South Africa and grow South Africa. Yes, the ANC has failed the country dismally. I will include myself in that. And there are things that we need to think of. What do we want for South Africa? Is it always about myself as an individual? Is it always about me? Yes, I'm educated. Yes, I live in the suburbs. Yes, I have high fences. Yes, I earn a good income. And yes, I earn a salary. And yes, I have a wife and I have kids and I love the life. I don't give a damn what happens to my brothers and sisters out there. Is that the attitude that we have towards our own people, black and brown alike? Is that the attitude we have? Because if it's all about me, then surely what you see before you is all about them and not yourself. Given that opportunity, given that moment to influence, given that moment to form, give that moment to evolve, what would you do? Wouldn't you maybe be exactly the same like all these other politicians that chow? Wouldn't it be that you also become a comrade and you eat? Wouldn't it be that you neglect the needs of the hungry South Africans that are yearning for development, that are yearning for change, that are yearning for progressiveness, that are yearning for new energy, that are yearning for new ideas, that are yearning for leadership, that are yearning for collective consciousness, that are yearning to do something massively? Dr. Martin Luther King says this: if I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. So South Africans, what do we want for ourselves? Are we just happy with the status quo? Are we happy with the inequality, the rampant inequality? Are we happy with the slow pace of development? Are we happy that all of us should be entrepreneurs when we know we cannot? Are we happy that the country doesn't need 20,000 doctors where only the market requires 5,000? Are we happy that not every child in South Africa wants to be an engineer, not because of the upbringing, not because of its philosophy, but just maybe the aspirations lie beyond the built environment? Could we not tap into the psychology of people? Could we not tap into the psychology of our education? Could we not reform our education to make it more progressive so that we are equipped with knowledge and skills that make us compete in the current age? If a child does not want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, what is there for him to do? Well, not everyone has the privilege of becoming a business owner. Not everyone has the privilege of becoming an entrepreneur. And it breaks my heart to see that people tell people these things, that no, go out, become an entrepreneur, open up a business. Yes, I don't have that privilege of becoming an entrepreneur. I don't have that privilege of becoming a business owner. So where does that leave me? I still want to add value to my society. I might not be the greatest on the technical side of things, but surely I can do many great things with my skills, with my mind, with my hands, with my mouth, and with my vision. Now, if that is not enough, then what are we paying for potential in this country? Because potential, you cannot buy it. No employer can buy potential. You cannot place potential with a price tag. It's invaluable. It's either you're willing to accept it and acquire it, or you're willing to lose it. So this is my call out to South Africans. What do you want for your country? Instead of complaining about crime, instead of complaining about the state of the economy, instead of complaining about the government, what do you actually want for South Africa? Because when it affects your individual interests, then hey, the conversation might change. But when it affects everyone else's interests, who gives them flying fuck? So we need to come down and think long and hard, consciously and psychologically about ourselves. What do we actually want for South Africa? That is my analysis of the economy. That is my understanding of where things have gone wrong. And these are just points that I brought forward during my research, trying to understand what is our thinking as South Africans and why things cannot move forward. It's not squarely the government's problem. There are a lot of players involved. But where a massive change and a massive shift could begin, it has to begin with the government. Kudos to the political parties involved in not increasing the VAT. That would have been effective on the 1st of May. Big up to everyone. And for those grandstanding political parties that are jumping the bandwagon and saying it's through their input that the VAT was not moved forward. Yes, we understand the fiscal framework was not accepted by a majority of the parties and automatically it resulted in a hefty negotiation to have that fiscal framework reversed. So kudos to those parties. And yes, even though you might have done something good like the VAT reversal, who says that was in the interest of your masters? Who says that was in the interest of your funders and your donors? And who says that was in the interest of yourself? Yes, some things do look good on paper, and some things are even much better outside of the paper. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And thank you for visiting the plantation.